Netflix took us on a real nostalgia trip recently by releasing Beverly Hills Cop Axel. Let's talk about it. Hi, my name's Stu and welcome to another review video on Flying Wiener. Now this really came out of the blue. I didn't even know it was being made. I was really surprised and I thought, just for context, I remember watching the Beverly Hills Cop films when I was a kid, because for some reason, I was really surprised to learn it was an R-rated film, because for me it was just on a Friday night, 8 o'clock, which was sort of the prime time for especially action films and stuff. This was just on and we'd watch it, and I'm pretty sure, I'd have to look back, but in Austrian television everything's dubbed in German, and I'm pretty sure the language wasn't that bad, so they must have sort of reduced that a bit so that they could, maybe release it at that time, or at least get a bigger audience or whatever. But yeah, I remember it being a very entertaining film even as a kid, so it was really fun to return to these, because I really haven't seen these films, because, I'm seeing these films because Netflix has got the rights, or at least they're currently distributing the first 3 Beverly Hills Cop films, so I thought, yeah, good point, I'll watch them as well. So it's basically the first time in, well, nearly 30 years, let's say 25 years, a good 25 years, that I've even watched the previous Beverly Hills Cop film. So it was a really cool journey. And yeah, so this came really out of the blue. Nowadays there have obviously been a few cases where film studios have tried to make a sequel decades after. I still haven't seen Dumb and Dumber 2, just as an example, because I'm kind of fearful that it won't be anywhere near as good as I hope it would be. I'm steering clear of that because I haven't heard too many great things of it. If I'm wrong on this, let me know in the comments, then I might check out sometime. But yeah, sequels decades later, in my opinion, you need a really good reason to make them. Not only that, but you owe it. You owe it to the original films and the fans of them to make sure that you're really delivering a high quality product, right? So that is a really difficult hurdle. Just to sort of head that off, I feel that Beverly Hills Cop Axel, this Netflix film, or if you want to call it Beverly Hills Cop 4, that's fine as well, of course. I feel it delivers, right? It's not the best entry in the franchise, but I will say I think it's a very decent attempt, and yeah, I think that fans of the originals will be very happy with this. I'll preface it with that, just so that you know my opinion on the previous ones. I think Beverly Hills Cop 1 is the best of the bunch. I enjoyed the second one quite a lot as well. The third one was kind of weird and meh, but I think that's the general consensus of it. And now this fourth one is good again. So I would definitely put ahead of 3, but probably behind 2, something like that. So it would be good if I had to make a ranking. It'd be Beverly Hills Cop 1, 2, then 4, and then 3. But yeah, it's a solid entry, especially, like I say, decades later. We're talking like nearly 40 years, or 30 years, a good 30 years after the third one, which is crazy to think about. Now, the plot. Let's talk about the plot. If you're familiar with these films, basically what happens is Axel Foley, who is played by Eddie Murphy, is a cop from Detroit, and there's always some reason, something happens that brings him to Beverly Hills, because he's not a Beverly Hills cop, he's just there usually just for a weekend or something, and he's solving some crime, yeah, right? So this is what happens here as well. We find out he has a daughter, which is new. She is played by Taylor Page. She lives in Beverly Hills. She is actually an attorney, a defendant, and she's involved in a really high-profile case with drugs and the cartel and all sorts of things. And she's threatened. And this, this somehow gets through. Not somehow. Axel Foley learns of this through his old Beverly Hills partner, played by Judge Reynolds. His name is Rosewood, if you remember him from the original films. He lets Axel Foley know, that this is happening. So he goes to Beverly Hills and tries to sort out the whole thing. So that's the one aspect of it. So we've got this crime that they're trying to solve, because the best way he feels, because the problem is, I should note this as well, that the defendant she has is a cop killer, supposed cop killer. So obviously there's a lot of tension there, especially with is it the captain? I've forgotten his rank. He's played by Kevin Bacon in the film anyway. So there's a lot of tension there between Axel Foley and Kevin Bacon's character. Obviously they're not really taking kindly to someone who's trying to defend a cop killer. So the best way they decide to get this done is to, you know, ultimately solve this case, and hopefully through that, you know, justice will prevail, all these kind of things. So it's a very standard plot in that way. You also have the aspect of the story between Axel Foley and his daughter. As you can imagine, as is very usual in these films, it is kind of a really, really overused cliche. They're estranged, you know, so they don't speak with each other. So the last time they saw each other before the plot of this film supposedly was 5 years ago or something like that. So obviously the story is also about somehow trying to rekindle, you know, that father-daughter relationship, right? That is the overarching plot. So we've got a very, very standard classical cop story, you know, just like the original Beverly Hills Cop film. So that is absolutely the right way to go. That is what you want from Beverly Hills Cop film, with the little mix in here of his daughter, you know, and how he gets along with her. That's the thing. That's all I'll tell you about the plot. You know, if you want to see what happens exactly, you'll have to find out for yourself. Now, this father-daughter relationship, like I say, is very cliched. However, I feel that they did a rather good job. So you could have it either of two ways. You could have, you know, him coming in and just sort of steam waltzing his daughter and saying, no, this is what we're doing, and da, you know, and just taking over the whole thing. Or you could have it vice versa, where the, like, you know, the old guy's being taught how to do things by the young one, you know. Neither applies here, which is good. They find a sort of middle ground, so it's neither, it doesn't feel like one is better than the other, you know, they sort of, I wouldn't exactly even say learn to get along. It's they put up with each other for most of the film, but there are incidents, of course, where the one or the other, you know, has an advantage in a certain situation and uses it to their, you know, mutual advantage. So yeah, I really like the relationship. I felt it added a bit because Axel Foley's character didn't have too much in the originals, of course, except being obviously this brash cop that just goes in, you know, and especially in Beverly Hills tells him to loosen up and all these kind of things, and there's a bit of an unorthodox detective style, let's call it. So yeah, I felt I added some fresh influence into this. You also have Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He plays a local Beverly Hills cop, a young one, who's sort of also along for the ride with Axel Foley. And yeah, I liked how those two played off each other well, as same thing, you know, the young one and the old one, but it's not like he's better or he's better. So yeah, I felt that they did that rather well. You've got a lot of nods to the original film, so I already mentioned Judge Reynolds. You've also got John Ashton returning, for instance. Eddie Murphy, of course, you know, he returns as well. So, but it's not overdone, you know, it's not done in a silly way or something. It's just like, oh, this is really good. It is really cool to think, you know, you watch the same guys from this, from the same film that came up 40 years ago, which is just really cool. And I must say, in that context, I mean, Eddie Murphy, it really shows you how young he was when the first one came out. Allegedly, I mean that because I didn't check myself. I just read it somewhere that he was 23 years old. I didn't check if he was actually 23. Well, if that's the case, I mean, that's really crazy, because that means now he's just 63, you know, and he looks really good, you know. So yeah, I mean, because I was like, you know, this is like, is this going to be like the 80-year-old cop, you know, or something like that? But that's absolutely not the case, because he's also not 80, he's 63. But yeah, no, it absolutely fits, you know, it fits this sort of cop just a few years before his pension and stuff like that. I felt that was pulled off really well. It's first time directorial debut, by the way, by Mark Malloy, and I feel he did a great job, because after just freshly, really just, I'm talking the day before watching the original Beverly Hills Cops, this one, it really felt like it goes with them, just the style of it, you know, not just the colours, but also the camera work. It felt really 80s, and it felt like they were really very dedicated to paying homage to the original films, because I felt like even the cameras, the way they moved, the way they zoomed into things, and also in the action scenes, it felt like it was just like in the 80s films, which is really cool. So it means that it slots in really well with the other films, which I really enjoyed. They have a lot of practical effects, which I appreciate. I mean, the film also cost reportedly $150 million, so, you know, that's not a small amount of money. A lot of practical effects, and I feel that's really good. It fits a film like this a lot better. It would be horrible if you had lots of CGI things in them. So there's even a helicopter scene, and if that's practical, you know, hats off to that. That is really impressive, you know, doing stuff like that practically nowadays, because everyone else would just, you know, immediately go to CGI. But I'm sure that gives you a certain physicality that makes those kind of scenes just a lot more enjoyable, and a lot more, you know, just tense for the audience as well, because, you know, you can still sometimes just tell it's CGI. So overall, it's a good film, you know, it's a solid film, I'd call it. It's not the best of the bunch, but it's very enjoyable. The humor's great. You know, we do have sort of like, you know, updated humor in that sense, but you still get the same quips that you're used to from Axel Foley. He's still the smart mouth, smart thinker and quick thinker and all these kind of things. But, you know, it's updated, so obviously we live in different times. But still, there's some really cool scenes there. Also, you have some slight, you know, social commentary in it as well, just like with the previous ones. You've got some really cool scenes. There's one at a sort of what's this sort of golf resort, you know, sort of golf club. I really enjoyed that scene there. They're trying to get a car and they run into this steward, you know, who's this valet who's not going to give them the keys, and there's a cool exchange there. I really enjoyed the whole thing. So if you've got Netflix, if you like the previous Beverly Hills Cop films, you should check this one out as well. That will be all from me today. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe. It is the best way to support this channel. Leave a comment down below about the original Beverly Hills Cop films, this one, comparisons between them, anything you want to say about that, put that in the comments down below. I'll thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one on Flying Beaner. Take care, bye.